Sometimes you hear about a crime that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. Well, this is one of those times. But this actually happened. We're diving into the story of Canada's biggest gold heist ever.
So, that's the big question, right? The multi-million-dollar question, literally. How on earth do you steal 400 kilograms of gold? I mean, that's the weight of a grand piano from a supposedly secure international airport. Well, the answer is kind of wild. It's both incredibly simple and, at the same time, super complex.
All right, so let's start with a major breakthrough in the case. This wasn't some dramatic shootout. Nope. The first big piece of the puzzle fell into place when a key suspect just stepped off a plane. And that moment, it was a huge turning point in an investigation that had been going on for years. So what's really fascinating here is how the police started putting this all together. They built this whole profile of the suspects, and right at the very top of their list was one guy, a person they apparently called the top dog. And that man's name? Arsalan Chaudhry. He's 43 years old, and police believe he was the mastermind, the one who planned this whole thing out. And get this, he was arrested when he flew back into the very same airport where the heist happened. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The irony is just off the charts.
And this just shows you how long and patient this investigation really was. Just look at that timeline. The heist goes down in April 2023, but the guy they think is the mastermind isn't caught until January 2026. Wow, that is almost 3 full years of non-stop police work.
Okay, so to really get why this was such a huge deal, we need to talk about the sheer scale of what was stolen.
It's pretty mind-blowing. We're talking about a grand total of 22.5 million Canadian dollars. That is a staggering amount of money. To this day, it's the biggest gold heist in Canadian history, just a record-breaking crime no matter how you look at it. And you know what? It wasn't only gold. Most of it was, for sure, $20 million worth of gold bars. But they also nabbed another $2.5 million in foreign currency. So it's pretty obvious these guys knew exactly what they were going after. This was no random grab. And just to give you a sense of scale, we are talking about 400 kilograms of gold. That's almost 900 pounds. Seriously, just picture that for a second. This wasn't somebody stuffing jewelry in their pockets. This was a full-on logistics operation. Right, so a really important detail here is that this cargo wasn't just sitting around for weeks. Nope, it had just landed. It came in on a flight all the way from Zurich, Switzerland. A huge center for banking and precious metals. It was sitting in a secure facility at Toronto's airport, just waiting to be processed. And that leads us to maybe the most brilliant part of this whole story, how they actually did it. I mean, how did they pull this off without a single gunshot, without setting off a single alarm? Well, the answer wasn't a weapon. It was a perfectly forged piece of paper. The whole thing hinged on this one document, something called an airway bill. Now, in the world of air freight, this piece of paper is everything. It's basically the official set of instructions. It tells the warehouse staff what's in a shipment, and, this is the critical part, who is allowed to come and get it. And this is where the plan was just so clever. The thieves didn't need guns or explosives. They didn't have to break into a vault. All they needed was one convincing fake airway bill. That was their key to just walk in and take it. They basically weaponized the system against itself. And here you can see it. This is the crime happening, right in plain sight. This is actual footage from the surveillance cameras. You see an unsuspecting forklift operator. He has no idea. He thinks the paperwork is totally legit, just loading that 400-kilo container right onto the thieves' truck. The whole thing was probably over in just a few minutes. So, let's just run through the plan. It's deceptively simple. Step 1, forge that all-important airway bill. Step 2, have a driver show up and present it to the warehouse staff who don't suspect a thing. Step 3, the staff themselves load this priceless cargo onto the truck for them. And Step 4, the thieves just drive off. And the craziest part, no one even realized the gold was gone until the next day. But, a crime this huge is bound to leave a trail. Once everyone realized what had happened, a massive, multi-year investigation kicked off. Law enforcement started meticulously, piece by piece, putting together this whole conspiracy. This timeline really gives you a sense of it. The heist happens, and the clock is on. Over the next couple of years, the police slowly start arresting a whole network of suspects, 9 of them in total. And then, bam! The big break in early 2026, when they finally nab the guy they believe planned it all, Arsalan Chaudhry. So, where are we now? Well, 10 people have been arrested. But, and this is a big but,
2 suspects are still out there somewhere. And here's a key detail. One of the wanted men is actually an Air Canada employee, which strongly suggests this was an inside job. And of course, the biggest question of all, that 400 kilograms of gold, it has never been found. It's like it just vanished into thin air. And really, that's the $1 million, or I guess $20 million question, isn't it? Even with the supposed mastermind in custody and most of the crew rounded up, will the police ever catch those last 2 suspects? And maybe even more important, will they ever find that missing gold? This story, it's definitely not over yet.